This is probably one of the most difficult videos I've ever made. I want to talk to you guys today about Leicester Square. I think Leicester Square is one of the most awful parts of London. It is a detestable tribute to flimsy Hollywood signage, the exploitation of foreign tourists, time-wasting street artists, overfed feral pigeons. There is generally nowhere I'd rather be less than Leicester Square.
But let's do it anyway.
Back in the good old days, by which I mean the Middle Ages, all this land was owned by the world's most famous Henry, if you don't count whoever that is, King Henry VIII, until he sold it to an Earl, and it was the Earl of, I think you can guess this, the Earl of Coventry, no, the Earl of Leicester, hence the name. The Earl of Leicester built a house on the site, and in doing so he closed off a large swathe of grassland and gardens which had previously been commonly used land.
Please, sir, can we have some more publicly usable land?
No.
But however will we graze our cattle, or dry our clothes, or build monuments to the gods, or whatever it is we peasants do in this era?
But in a practice that's now extinct, the government actually listened to the peasants, despite their bad accents, and intervened on their behalf, making the Earl keep part of his land open to the public.
The Earl and his house are gone, but the land that he had to give back to the public now forms Leicester Square.
The square would come to be laid out like most others in London, with fashionable townhouses lining all four sides. If they were still here today, they would only be affordable to Russian oligarchs, but at the time they weren't owned by the uber rich, just the mildly wealthy.
Some kind of poet lived there, magistrate used to live there, Hogarth lived there. Karl Marx lived somewhere around here in a hotel for a while, but it was here at number 28 Leicester Square that a man called John Hunter lived. He was a pioneer of anatomy and surgery, which invariably meant he was also a prolific grave robber, an occupation which has sadly been in decline for several years now. Bloody Thatcher. Famously, he stole the remains of a so-called Irish giant called Charles Byrne, literally directly from his funeral procession. After dissecting him, Hunter proudly displayed Byrne's skeleton in his home and gallery here in the square. Nowadays, the Hunterian Museum is over in Lincoln's Inn Fields, and they still have Byrne's bones, oddly with Winston Churchill's dentures. So you too can take your 5-year-old daughter along and question the ethical implications of displaying someone's stolen bones in the 21st century. And then you can go to the Lego shop.
Anyway, then began a slow, inexorable decline towards the hell we have today. It started when one of the Earl's descendants allowed small retail booths to open on the edge of his property.
Then in the 1700s, Leicester House was sold to a man called Ashton Lever, who opened a natural history museum there, and very quickly the square became much more commercial and seedy. Brothels started to open. There was even a place you could go and look through a telescope to see the severed heads of traitors over at Temple Bar. And the severed heads would still be better entertainment than the average thing shown around here nowadays.
Blah blah blah, film premieres, what happened to real culture, blah blah blah, Channing Tatum. But why are they held here? Well, Leicester House, which as you recall was the whole reason the square is here, was eventually torn down, and the Alhambra Theatre built in its place, which would eventually be replaced by the Empire Cinema and all the other ones we have today.
Sidebar, let the Alhambra Theatre be a reminder to us that we used to be able to build nice structures in this city, and they only used to burn down once every 6 months or so. It was perfectly manageable. The Prince Charles Cinema also lies around the back of where Leicester House once was. Whilst now it's good for a new indie flick or a classic cult film, not so long ago it's where you'd have gone to see films of a more blue variety, which is a term I don't get to use very often. Don't look that one up, kids. I always notice these bells, which I'm sure would be very pretty in any other setting, but here just kind of stand like a totem, warding people off entering the square. They're the remnants of the Swiss Centre, which used to stand here in the edge of Leicester Square, a big kind of touristy advertisement for Switzerland before M&M World. So do you guys sell anything other than M&Ms?
The garden in the middle has a bizarre and tumultuous history, as every good garden ought to, with people arguing continuously over who owned it and what the owners were obliged or not obliged to do with it.
At times it was completely abandoned, at other points there was perhaps an American flavour to proceedings as they built a wall around it. And in 1979, during the so-called Winter of Discontent, it became a literal, actual rubbish dump. Which in many ways it sort of still is today.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our show. Thank you so much for today. We love you people. Thank you. Please guys, don't lose one away. Come over.
There was a chance at salvation though, in the 1700s when a royal opera house was proposed that... Oh, I thought we were supposed to be showing a picture of the proposed opera house. So, and now we are. That's smooth. And we're back. Great. God, right. Those proposals fell through though, and now we have a Chiquitos instead. Well, now you show the Chiquitos. Punchline absolutely destroyed. Do you know what? I think we need to, quite pleasingly, in order to get our own back on the millions of tourists that now own Leicester Square, we've given it what is reported to be one of the most mispronounced names in all of London. So to all the visitors of Leicester, Leicester Square, we welcome you and would encourage you to do the next thing in the list, which is to take the worst value tube journey on the network from here to Covent Garden. It'll cost you a £5, it's quicker to walk it, but apparently 450 people do it every single day. Here I am at Leicester Square.
Obviously, for you guys, I had to try it myself.
Let's go. Five minutes and 45 seconds. Here we go.
And then I timed the walk back.
So I did that in 2 minutes and 49 seconds.
Which gives us a difference of 3 minutes and 4 seconds and £4.90 that I'll never get back. Speaking of getting ripped off, the discount theatre ticket booths you'll see all around here are very good at giving punters less than a good deal on last minute West End tickets. The TKTS booth though, on the south side of the square, is your best bet at a genuine deal, although for true entertainment, personally, I would recommend staying inside and watching my YouTube back catalogue instead.
Interestingly, underneath Leicester Square is a large electricity substation that provides power for most of the West End, and it has a ventilation funnel that comes up the back of the TKTS booth.
You know, I'm starting to feel a bit lightheaded, to be honest. I don't really want to do this anymore. This is... I don't even... What? What? Leicester Square.
And that's it. There is no more. That's all the footage there is, sadly. We don't know what happened to Andrew. We don't know if he got out of the square. But we do know this, thanks to a note that was found in his apartment. It just says that in the event that I don't make it back, I'd very much appreciate it if you could like, comment, or indeed subscribe to my YouTube channel. So I'll leave those thoughts with you, I guess. Till next time.